Hey guys, it's Javi. Today we have an email from Jacob that reads as follows. Hey Javi, I'm a huge fan of the channel and I just wanted to let you know that I am ready to buy a house. I have a good down payment, I have a great credit score, and I am financially able to do it. I can comfortably afford the monthly payment to be about 18 to 20% of my monthly income. That's pretty impressive, Jacob. So first off, congratulations. And what do you do for a living? I might have to switch career paths. But here's the thing, Javier. I am scared. I am so scared that I'm going to buy a house and then it's just going to completely crash and I'm going to be completely taken advantage of. I don't want to be one of those suckers that buys and then crashes and now has to live with their house being way over expensive. What do I do, Javier? Should I just wait for the market to crash? Is the market going to crash? I am just so scared. Please help me. Jacob, first and foremost, I want to tell you and tell everyone who's listening to this that being scared is something that everyone goes through. It doesn't matter if you're not very well prepared or if you're extremely prepared. Fear is something you're going to feel. In fact, whenever I encounter someone who has no fear whatsoever and they're just like whatever, are usually the people that are just like low credit, like back in the day. Now this isn't happening anymore. No credit score, very low income, barely skirting by, is stretching out the debt to income ratio, and they have no business buying a house. The fact that you feel fear, and not only you, but everyone who's watching this right now, is okay. It's definitely a terrifying thought to have, but let's really break down what it means for a house to lose value. Because I think we all have an idea of what it is, but let's just kind of break it down and see if our brain can digest that information a little better. For starters, our biggest fear is that we're going to lose value of our house that we buy. And you're going to have two main fears here. One, you're going to just feel completely taken advantage of and feel like you should have just waited to buy a house and you feel like you were scammed. The second feeling is the feeling of missing out on an opportunity, because if you had waited to buy a house when the time hit again, you would have been able to take advantage of the market. So that's the two fears basically broken down a little more further. But let's really talk about what a value of a house is. So first and foremost, what is value? You know, this Stanley Cup that apparently causes cancer now, according to the news article. Bought this at Lowe's. I like the color. It's like a small one. Excuse me. I know everyone like hates Stanley Cups now, but I like having something I can sip on, you know? When I bought this, the value was created by the company who made it. Whether it's a certain number that is a certain percentage over how much it costs, or they're just seeking a certain amount of profit, that is the value that they created on it. However, what is the true value of this? The true value isn't what the company paid or what the percentage over the cost. It's what somebody is willing to pay. As you all know, recently Target released a bunch of like pink ones, I think, or something like that. And there was this huge terrible people just going in and crashing the place up and causing all kinds of craziness. And there's people trying to sell these special edition Stanley Cups for an absurd amount of value. And guess what? They're actually selling it. So value isn't by whoever created the product. Simply, value is what someone is willing to pay for something. Now, if we look at this in a sense of a house, yes, traditionally, when you look at a house, this is the process of what value is. A seller wants to sell this property. They either are the original owner, maybe it's a builder who built the house, or maybe it's like the fifth owner of this house and now just wants to sell it. Whatever the situation is, they want to sell the house. Now, a lot of them are going to do a few things. You're going to look at comparables of the neighborhood to see what houses are similar to theirs that are willing to sell. A lot of people are going to consider what they've done to the house and either add a cost to or repair, like how much it actually costs them to upgrade or remodel. Sorry. Apparently the Stanley Cup is messing with my head, whatever chemicals it has or whatever. But more traditionally, what they should do is they should add like let's say houses that are similar in your neighborhood have a pool, sell for $10,000 just more. So even though the pool costs you $50K, you have to add another $10K, right? So they do all these things and an educated seller puts it on the market once doing that. But quite frankly, a lot of sellers just don't give a crap and they'll just say, my house is worth X amount of dollars because this house is special to me. If you're not willing to pay this price, then whatever. Get out of here. You don't deserve my house. Once again, a cost or a list price of a house is determined by the seller or the owner. Now, this also doesn't indicate what value is. A lot of people have that misinterpretation of, okay, well, it's worth this much. No, it's not. That is just an idea of what the seller thinks it's worth. That's why when you're looking at comps, you shouldn't be looking at houses for sale, because I could put my house for sale for whatever house price I want. Now, it doesn't mean that a house in the neighborhood is worth that amount. Got it? But what determines what it's actually worth. Let me give you a few scenarios, and I've seen all of these happen. Let's say there's a house for $400,000. You really like the house, but you look at comps, the house is a little bit overpriced. You're willing to pay $380,000 for it. After going back and forth, the seller agrees to give it to $385,000, which you accept, and now you purchased a house for $385,000. Now you might trick your brain into thinking, hey, I just saved $15,000 off the price. I am a stud. Yes, you are a stud, my friend. Once again, the list price doesn't mean anything. That's La La Land. So you really didn't save $15,000. You simply decided that that house is worth $385,000 now. That's scenario number one, and that's what we see a lot of time. Scenario number two is, okay, they list the house for $400,000, and either because of outside forces like the market, or outside forces of like interest rates are super cheap, or outside forces like this is a very popular area that people really want to live in, the house sells for a lot more, and it sells for $420,000, $425,000. So now, are they suckers because they overpaid for the house? Well, that's what the buyer felt the value of the home was, and that is now the value of that specific house. Which scenario is wrong? Which scenario is right? Well, that's the thing. That's what the buyer feels the house is worth. A lot of times we have to consider that what makes people pay a certain price for that house is, a lot of times we like to think of things logically and say, well, it's because I looked at the comps, I looked at the market, research data, numbers, and this is the safe number that I think it's worth. But a lot of times there's outside forces that add value to a property that is just like what people agree that they like. For example, let's say there's a specific house. Let me just show you here. I'll pull up my screen real quick. I didn't plan for this, so give me a second. All right, so here we have a basic search for a 4-bedroom plus 2-bathroom plus built in 1965 to 1970 home. I grew up here in the Maryville area. There's a lot of these houses, and just picking a random house here, there's one for sale currently for $365,000. Now, the crazy thing about this is the other day I was in Scottsdale, which for those not familiar with Phoenix, it's like Little California. This house is a 4-bedroom, 2-bath for 1,600 square feet, and it's currently listed for $369,000. And the other day I was in Scottsdale and I stumbled upon this older neighborhood where the houses looked almost identical. And here I have 1,500, 1,800 square feet, 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom plus 1965 to 1970. I found a house almost identical to those kind of houses I grew up in, but look at the prices that they're listed for. They're listed for $695,000. Yes, a lot more remodeled, I'll give them that. But even the ones that aren't remodeled, one selling for $950,000, one selling for $475,000. The fixer-upper is selling for $475,000. Now, of course, this is an extreme example. Clearly, there's a lot more remodeling done in this side of the neighborhood. But what's the true difference between Scottsdale and Phoenix? Is you can say that school district is better. There's more amenities around this area. But the reality is, it's just us. A collective as human beings living in Phoenix have decided it is more valuable to live in Scottsdale. Therefore, we value the real estate properties that are in there. That's really what determines value, is us getting together and just agreeing like a council, this area is worth more. And I'm willing to pay more. And that's what creates sometimes these situations where houses sell for a lot more, or maybe you feel more comfortable spending a lot more. Now, we've said a lot of things, but we really haven't said a lot of things in this video. So let's just get into it. Let's just just get to the point, right? Value is what you're willing to pay for a property. What happens after really doesn't matter. Here's why. The only time when you make an offer on a property, that is what you consider that house's worth is at that moment. Now, if you're like thinking your house is an investment and you're like, I'm going to make an offer for $350 and this house is going to be worth $500 in 5 years, don't buy a house. This is not your time. Right now is not a time for investors, and frankly, investors, you fix and flipper, you dirty wholesaling scum. You guys know I hate wholesalers, so if you're a wholesaler, get out of here. All you people that have inflated this market for the past decade, your time is over. Let's let the investors get out of the real estate market, and let's just get back to home buyers and home sellers, please. Let people who own their houses like want to turn them into rentals, great, that's fine. But all these people that are like flipping and doing all this stuff, bye. The time for investing has gone. But here's the reality. Whatever you pay for your house, is what you think it's worth. Whether it goes down in value or up in value because of market conditions or because they built a freaking Target in the neighborhood and now the neighborhood is worth more, or something, I don't know, something happens in that neighborhood and now it's worth more, is all complete luck. Now with the market, you can be a little smarter and look into the market trends and patterns to see what's going up or what's going down and, kind of figure things out then. Yeah, you can do some of that. But basically, you should have a budget of like, this is a monthly payment that works for me and my family for the next 10, 20 years. You should have a timeline of how long you're going to live in that house. Javier, I'm going to live in this house for 2 years. Don't buy a house. Go rent. Javier, I'm going to live in this house for like 2.5 years. No. Javier, I'm going to live in this house for 10 or 15 years. Okay. That makes sense. Now, when you're looking at the market as a whole, and you're like, Javier, the market's going to crash next year because all these videos are saying that. Okay. But your plan is to live in this house for 10 or 15 years, right? How much like damage are you doing to that mortgage in 10, 15 years? Like, are you buying within your means so that way you can really make some extra payments and tackle that mortgage down? And like, so then when it's time, 10, 15 years to move up to the next house or whatever happens, you don't have to sell it. You could rent it out. Or you can, I don't know, your options are just not to sell it. And if the market crashes tremendously in the next like few years and then it goes back up or down or whatever happens, like whenever you decide to sell your house are going to be a combination of two things. You're going to pay it down and who knows where the market's going to be, right? You're living off this fear that you're going to be thought of as a lunatic or like a failure because you bought a piece of property, or you bought some kind of investment, or this is where you're considering an investment that lost its value. And now shame on you, brought shame. But the reality is you shouldn't be looking at that. You should be looking at simply as your home, as something you're going to own, right? And yes, your bank is carrying the note, but as long as you do important things like make sure that your budget's in line, make sure that all these other things are in line in your life, you're living a life that's like you're comfortable with, your debts are managed, you have plenty of savings and you're building your savings, you're working towards financial goal, financial freedom, or you're debt free. Make sure you get a month mortgage payment that continues to have you work towards those goals. And dude, if you buy a house and it completely crashes and it tanks in a few years and you just lose all your value, now it's worth $0, like, okay, you can afford your monthly payment, you can afford your mortgage, and guess what goes down, what goes up, what goes down can go up, what goes up must go down. Even if you gain value, that can go away too. Who cares? Honestly, all these people are short-term buyers. This is not your market. Investors, this is not your market. This is a time for long-term buyers. And for Jacob, who is concerned and just terrified, I get it, man. I totally get it. You don't know what the future holds for you, but I would implore you to answer those two questions. How long are you going to live in this house for? And are you genuinely looking into having your house not be your only investment? Secondly, but are you going to be looking into paying extra payments? Of course, I only had a third one, which is make sure your freaking budget's in line, dude. Make sure, oh, actually you said 18%. So you're in a pretty good spot, my friend. If you want to wait because the market's too volatile and you don't have that personality to just say, your why isn't big enough to take that risk, that's totally fine, dude. I am all about just making sure you're conscious of your decision. You're not making emotionally charged decisions where you're buying or not buying because people are telling you. I think the true path of financial freedom, I believe, I'm so passionate in my life, hopefully you guys can replicate this, and being able to own everything that I drive, everywhere I live, own without debt. Now that's going to take a crap load of work, but you can take a step there by either saving up everything cash and then buying cash, or just get into a mortgage where you can afford a monthly payment. And if that time isn't now yet, then maybe you wait or you have to move or whatever, but you move steps towards having complete control and mastery of your life. But either way, Jacob, I hope that helps. That's how value works. And now, of course, you can agree or disagree with me. This is just kind of just my thoughts. These question videos I've been making lately are just kind of the top of my head. So if you agree or disagree, you can leave a comment below, or you can go to my Discord channel, the best first-time home buyer, real estate doomer, whatever you are, you're owner, you're a doomer, you're a bloomer, you're a zoomer, join the Discord. Home Go Homies, best real estate Discord you can there. You can chat with me, you can chat with other people in the community, you can say hi, you can disagree, you can agree, whatever it is. We're all passionate about this, so let's get to it. You two think you should watch this video next, so go check it out. Thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate y'all. Have a good one.